My name is Ava. My company's name is called Neo Import Limited. My brand it's called IT Monster. The tea it's called Smoking Tiger Kawa daun. The company's name it's from my mother clan. It's called Neo. Neo it's meaning coconut leaf. The reason why I chose Neo Import Limited because it helped me to remember and to appreciate my mother and my grandmother. This tea is been invented by my great-great-grandmother and her family in the village in West Sumatra, Indonesia. So back in the day, when Dutch came to our country, and the Dutch people was asking the village people to plant coffee, right? And then after the coffee was grown, and then the cherry was there, and then the harvest the coffee bean, and Dutch people was saying to the villager not to drink or try coffee. They're not allowed. Their job at the time just to grow the coffee and harvest it, and they send this product to Netherlands at the time. And as the farmer, they're not, like I said, they're not allowed to try this coffee. And my ancestor at the time was curious, what is this coffee? And because of their curiosity, and what they did, they used the leaf. That's how they invented this coffee leaf tea. And so from my great-great-grandmother, passed it to my grandma, and from my grandma to my mom and to me. That's how it started. I was very close to my grandma, so I have a lot of cousins. I remember one day, this is when I was 6 years old, like out of the blue, I think this was hunting season at the time, if I didn't mistaken, because this tea this is not like everyday tea for us. Grandma only make this tea only on special occasion. So I really believe at the time was hunting season, and among all of those cousins that I have at the time, my grandma asked me to come with her. So I follow her to the kitchen, and then she says to me, grab the bucket. And I grabbed this huge bucket. I'm tiny, right? I was 6 years old at the time. So she said, follow me. So I follow her all the way to the back of the house. We have huge yard, not yard, more like she planted a bunch of things there. A bunch of spice, a bunch of fruits, herbs, and one of them, coffee. And we have a lot of coffee tree back there. And one thing that I remember was watching my grandma picking the leaves of this coffee plant. And I remember the leaf of this coffee was so wide and long. Like I still remember until today. And she pointed to me, she said, this is how this is the one that you need to pick. That's what she said to me, right? I just I was 6 years old, I don't understand things, but I was paying closely attention to what she was saying to me. So anyway, we picked the leaf and all of the stuff. So we went to the house, and then she cleaned up the leaf, and then she showed me the process until this leaf become tea. And then until today, I still wonder. I said to myself, why me? With among all of those cousins that I have, my grandma somehow only picked me at the time and showed me how to make this tea that been inherited from her mother, and her mother from her mother, right? And then she passed it to me. Only now that I start to understand and then really appreciate it, and then continuing this tradition and bringing them to North America, something is very dear to me. So back in the day, the way we drink this tea, when we harvest the rice, like a paddy, like you went to the rice paddy field, right? You harvest and then you celebrate, and that's when we make this tea, right? And then we drink it not with the cup, we drink it with the coconut shell. So you went to this, rice paddy field. There's like in the open nature is beautiful mountain, beautiful surrounding, and you gather there with your family, you celebrate, you pray, and you eat, and you drink your tea with a coconut shell. That's how we did it. Just imagine you out in the open, in the field, you see mountain, you see trees all around you, and you sit there and you're drinking your tea with a coconut shell. And you're like, oh gosh, thank you, Those kind of feeling when I was drinking this tea with a coconut shell, looking up to the sky, like how beautiful life, just having that simple tea with a coconut shell. This is before my wedding. We went to Grandma's house, me and my mother went to Grandma's house, and I remember my grandma make this tea with this old teapot from aluminum, right? And I remember I went to the kitchen with my mom, and my grandma was in the kitchen, was making tea. And so back in the day, we don't, when you in the living room, we don't have a table, we sit on the floor. And I remember that I was sitting down and my mother is sitting down, and I remember my grandma was sitting down right by the window in the kitchen. And then we have this conversation, like how to be a woman, how to be a wife, how to be a mother, because this is going to be my wedding the next day. And then another thing too, the message that they kind of sent it to me at the time, not to forget where I came from. That's the biggest thing. My mother and my grandma, they are quite traditional, and I feel so blessed that I kind of find that balance between being the woman today and a little bit of being that traditional that I feel close to my heart. And I that has been planted to me since I was very young. And the day when I got married, that's the day that they go deeper with that conversation. So I'm grateful. My brand, it's called IT Monster. The reason why I call IT Monster, when I was young, when my grandma make this tea, among all of those cousins that I have, I'm the one who's going crazy like a monster. Each time when she make this tea, when we went to visit her, you can smell the aroma of this tea from the kitchen all the way to the living room. And then every morning when we was there at Grandma's house, Grandpa will always say, hey guys, wake up, get ready for breakfast. And since I smelled that aroma and I went crazy and ran to the kitchen, my grandpa always get upset with me. And that's the reason why I call IT Monster, because my grandpa used to call me Monster. People were saying to me, why there's so many names, right? IT Monster, and then Smoking Tiger. So IT Monster, that's the name of the brand of our tea. And our tea, I call it Smoking Tiger Kawa daun. Why I call Smoking Tiger? This coffee leaf we produce in Sumatra, Indonesia. As we all know, in the world, people well known with Sumatra tiger, right? So back in the day, time to time you will see tiger lingering in our backyard. And then there is a time when you go to back then it's still rural, still jungle, right? And there's time that I remember we went to the backyard, suddenly it's quiet. When it's quiet, you better run. Usually when the jungle quiet, that means the king around, so you better run. So yeah, back in the day, we have a lot of tiger roaming around in our backyard. And then the reason why I use smoking tiger, that's for me to remember that I am Sumatran woman, that in the world very known with Sumatra tiger, to remember that, to appreciate that, to be grateful. And that's why I call my tea smoking tiger Kawa daun. Kawa daun means it's coffee leaf. Smoking tiger because, you know, tea was hot, right? Smoking tiger. So yeah, that's the reason why I call it smoking tiger.